All right. Another week, another Centre Circle episode. We record today in very, very sad circumstances. The football world, well, the world at large, has had to deal with some very tragic news today. I'm here with Key and Isaac. And that tragic news you will all have heard is the sad passing of Diogo Jota, Liverpool and Portugal forward, who very sadly died in a car accident in Spain. We're recording on Thursday, the 3rd of July. And the news filtered through UK side this morning. Unfortunately, his brother, Andre Jota, was also in the vehicle with him. And they were both reported to have died at the scene. Lots of details are floating around about the accident itself, but I think until those details are clarified, it's best not to speak on those. I guess it goes without saying that full condolences to his family, to their family, friends, loved ones. Diogo Jota himself had recently just got married. He's a father to 3 young kids. So aside of his sporting achievements, there are lots of people very, very, very distressed today, and are hurting from losing a loved one. And to the club, Liverpool, their fans, and to the country of Portugal, again, condolences. A wonderful sportsman and representative of both the club and country is no longer with us. As everyone knows, Keith and Isaac are both fans of Liverpool Football Club. Really sad news, guys.
Yeah, it is. It's shocking as well. Like going into the office this morning, seeing the news break is not something that you expect to see. It's a bit weird. Like with sports people, you kind of see them as kind of immortal to some degree. So when something like this happens, when someone's essentially in the prime of their career, it's very sad. And you mentioned his brother. His brother also got married 3 weeks ago, as well, which is just adds kind of another layer to the sadness of the story. But yeah, Jota, he was a great player when he was signed for Liverpool. It came a bit out of the blue, like £40 million from Wolves, especially that summer when we were linked to Werner quite heavily. And I must say he came in and disrupted that front three of Mane, Salah, and Firmino quite effortlessly. Like everyone says that they're one of the best front threes ever to play in the Premiership, and he slotted right in, hence him being known as Jota the Slotter. So yeah, just really sad time. Been seeing the posts that have been coming up from his teammates and the Liverpool squad over the last kind of few hours, and yeah, each one I read, it just gets a little bit sadder with each time. It shows, as you mentioned, how he was loved within the club.
Yeah, no, agreed, Key. And look, we've unfortunately lived through the deaths of a few sportsmen across various sports. You always, unfortunately, this is the time when you see how they touch people's lives. And regardless of whatever club you support, you see things like this, and again, it makes you wonder a lot wider than sport. Isaac, you're a Liverpool fan and someone who's connected to the area. Any words from yourself?
To be honest with you, um, not really. And I think that's just from shock. I think, to be honest, my head is still all over the place. More so as a fan, you know what I mean, but more so as a human being as well. Death in of itself is never something that's nice to hear. And like Keith said, as a fan of a football club, you have this kind of attachment to the players that you support, almost like an extended family member. So be it. Um, I know some people might look at that and feel away, but it's just, I think it's just the way it is. You pour so much support and love into these teams and players, So to hear something as abrupt and as shocking as that, it can hit quite deeply. And I think it also kind of, I think the the kind of potent thing about it is that he was at such a high, having won the league, won the Nations League, and got married, and for it to just go in the blink of an eye, it kind of brings your own mortality into question, or like into to the forefront, and it just makes you realize you've got to appreciate every single moment, the good, the bad, because you really don't know when it's going to end. As they say, we're all on borrowed time. So,
Mm.
and I hate to somber us out, but yeah, it's just that's where my head's been at today.
Yeah, no, understandable. I think his age and his brother's age is another element to everyone's shock. 28 and 25 years of age it was never a good time to go, but that is unbelievably young, a career to see out, and a life to live. So yeah, very sad circumstances, and very sad for every football fan and everyone connected to the game. And I've had people who don't even really watch football have seen the circumstances and that, and have been rocked by it. So once again, prayers from ourselves to families, friends, and everyone connected with the Jota family. Yeah, it's a sad time, and I'm sure the club, Liverpool Football Club, and the national team will honour him in the months to come, and make sure he's remembered in the right way. Him and his brother.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We've had the somewhat controversial Club World Cup kickoff since we last recorded. Um, I have to say it's been a little bit better than I expected. Maybe I let the naysayers, and you know how I feel about the moral soapboxers who talk about the money grabbing, FIFA, etc., but then go to their day job reporting on the competition itself and continue to enjoy the spoils of the expanded game. Maybe I let them get in my head, but I think we've seen some interesting, as I said, interesting games. I think performances from teams that people didn't expect, but not for the right reasons. I just think it's out of sight, out of mind. Everyone seems super surprised by how the Brazilian teams have done, but again, there's nothing to suggest that their standard is any lower than a lot of the clubs there. We've already had a couple of shocks. The round of 16 has been completed, and as we sit here now, Inter Milan have been eliminated. Manchester City have been eliminated, which are two clubs we did not expect to be out at this stage. And we are now at the quarterfinal stages with matchups that include Al Hilal versus Fluminense, Chelsea versus who did Chelsea playing against? Palmeiras.
Others.
We have got PSG versus Bayern in the old Champions League week, basically, and Real Madrid versus Dortmund. We were going to get the battle of the Bellinghams, but Joe wouldn't be a Bellingham if he didn't catch a stray yellow here and there, so he is now suspended. Isaac, I mean, what's been your standout so far of this tournament?
To be honest, watching the so-called lesser teams absolutely have their way with some of the how we put it, bigger teams, right? I mean, if you look at when Al Hilal played Real Madrid and were absolutely bopping the ball around, it was reminiscent of when Fluminense played City, and City couldn't get the ball off of for Fluminense, when Marcelo and Felipe Melo and the rest of them were just absolutely um, triangling, just playing them off the park. It was just seeing things like that, and yeah, it's been interesting. I'm surprised. I think for me, I'm more surprised at people being surprised at how good the Brazilian teams or the other teams, the non-European teams are doing. If you look back in history, they've always done quite well. And when I say quite well, I'm talking about the Brazilian teams. They've given. I mean, I'm pretty sure we lost. I say Liverpool lost to a Brazilian team when we were in. We were in there back in was it
Oh
06,
six,
Keith?
yes. 05-06 season.
Didn't Edmundo and his team deal with Manchester United? Do you remember the year they went in the FA Cup? That might have been the first year of this Club World
No,
Cup, wasn't
I
it?
think United won that one, but it wasn't. It wasn't a walk in the
Yeah,
park,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Gary
So
Neville got moved to on the baseline. Remember?
Barcelona have even lost its final to a South American team when they had Ronaldinho in them, man. So
exactly.
yeah,
So I'm not surprised at how well the Brazilian teams are doing. There's also the issue of acclimatization.
Yes,
Um,
100%.
being used to heated, warmer conditions. Um, so yeah, I think it's been all the soapboxing aside and the faux outrage aside. I think the tournament of itself has been all right. The only real issue I've had is the stop starts. So all the adverse weather
Yes, yes, yes.
delays,
yeah.
Mm.
and I think that is something that they will definitely have to consider for the World Cup next year. And I agree with the players and the managers coming out and saying the early kickoffs they need to be scrapped. They absolutely need to be scrapped.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think it, I didn't have higher hopes for those teams, not because of where they're from, it's because I didn't have much knowledge on their players. So I didn't know if at the moment their teams were good or not. But it just felt like, well, they're non-European teams, so our teams must be better. There is a little bit of that, but when you look at all these teams, big European teams are recruiting players from these teams, right? Big European teams are recruiting players from these teams to come and play in their first teams next season. So yeah, and I did think climate would play a part. These guys are used to, you know, not only just the heat, high altitude, all the rest of the recipes that come along with playing South American football. Um, and look, we've heard about some of the organizational problems, right? So people have talked about empty stadiums. Again, some of these teams, quite frankly, as to use an NBA term, they're not big market teams. So wherever this competition was held, or whenever, those wouldn't necessarily be the games that would sell out, right? We had teams from all over the world, from markets and areas that people would never have heard of. People are going to be saving their time and money for the games with the recognizable players, especially in those markets where they don't get to see those players all the time. You don't get to see Real Madrid rocking up regularly. You don't get to see Chelsea rocking up regularly, Man City. You get it once a year if it's pre-season. So now there's a serious competition with money on the line. Those are the games people are going to want to see. So I'm not saying they haven't got lessons to learn. And I still think all the stuff about number of games is valid. You just like I'm still wondering how the whole Premier League pre-season have these City, Chelsea players, have they had a holiday before they came here? Is there a holiday after this and then before pre-season? Like, what's gonna happen? What's the thing?
Well, it's
Um,
interesting you say that because Pep has been saying that he considers this tournament the first game or the first games of next season. So he's like, this is
pre-season,
our 25-26 season getting underway.
yeah, it has to be. Even though officially it's the end of the 24-25 season,
Yeah,
but I can kind of see what he's saying because they're playing competitive ball at the end of June and not
into
not
July.
any minor ball, serious competitive ball. Like, so
I,
maybe this is the best preseason you're gonna have, right? Because you're playing.
no, here's the thing. I wouldn't consider it to be a good preseason
No, I
because
agree. I agree.
your players essentially haven't had a break. They've gone
Yeah,
straight from one competition, from one.
to another.
They've gone off the back of the end of the. They've gone off out of one season straight into a competitive tournament,
Well, even
and
before
then
that,
you're gonna
Isaac, internationals. Didn't some of these guys play internationals?
Yeah,
exactly so
Yeah,
internationals
yeah.
into a competitive tournament. Those players that have played, which are essentially your main squad for next season,
Mm.
then have to have some sort of respite.
There
So
must
what
be a
you're going to
week
give
now.
them, what, a week or two?
Must
Now
be.
your main squad are taking a week or two off, while everyone else, all your competitors, are now coming back into preseason. So now they're
Yeah.
all starting. They're coming back and working into the new season as you're now on the way down. Like so, for the teams that are competing in this tournament, or the European teams, because the American teams and the Brazilian teams, they'll just go straight back into their season,
Yeah.
Yeah.
as LA Galaxy did 5 days later. They were back in the MLS. But for the European teams, that surely is a problem for the upcoming season. Like, what? How do you think they? Like, what do you think? How do you think they're going to
So
address that?
so I think from my point of view, whenever you have this competition, you have to upset somebody because the league schedules around the world are not calibrated, right? So if you have it in the summer, you're going to upset the European. Well, not upset, but you're going to be adding extra load to the European season. If you have it in the winter, you're going to have the kind of North American, South American, those they basically the guys at the other side of the pond,
Mm.
their preseason, etc. And let's be honest, whilst FIFA love the money, they're not upsetting a European season again after Qatar. They're not doing that, right? And the only reason they can do it again is if for a World Cup proper, which I guess is what's going to happen in Saudi 34, right? So I think this is going to sound a bit crazy, but I think this just lends to the whole mega squad thing again, right? Like if you think about the squad that Pep had that was firing on all cylinders before this transition, he had 2 players for every position, right? He could have rotated through through this Club World Cup piece. Unfortunately, he's in mid transition. He's got a lot of people to try out and play, etc. But look at Chelsea. Look how many players they've got. They're still signing players. So I think we're just going to get to a point where that kind of rotation and that kind of squad size is going to be utilized for things like this. I don't think these players are getting a summer off for another couple of years. What have we got next year? World Cup? Yeah, we've got World Cup next year in America. This was just rehearsal for that.
Yep.
Then I think 27 there's a break. Then 28 will be Euros. And then 29 will be this again.
Well, 27 will
Bearing
be.
in mind that AFCON, and then
AFCON.
I don't know when the next Copa America is, but that'll be
Yeah.
around
Yeah,
the
that'll be
corner.
27. So in 27, you'll
There
have
you go.
Copa America and Euros under 21s again.
There you go.
So if you're from South America, if you're from South America, you've played this summer. If you're in the top team, you play World Cup next year. You won't play Euros. Well,
All right.
you play Copa in 27. You won't play Euros. So whoever you're from, you'll get a year break. I guess is the point I'm making, right? Yeah. Okay. I don't know, man. I think
There was, I can't remember who it was. I think it was the Bayern Munich. Someone attached to Bayern Munich.
Franz Beckenbauer.
Who is it? Beckenbauer? No.
I'm sure it was him. It was. I know he was. I
Whoever's
saw
like
the quote. He was talking about the
midfielder.
players. The players coming together. They wanted more money. That's why a lot of these things
Exactly.
happen. Yeah. I
He
said
said,
it
"Where do you
before.
think?" He said, "Where do you think the money comes from?
Yeah.
If the agents and the players are asking for more money, where do you think the money is going to come from?"
Yeah. No, I agree.
So
I agree. I'm not saying the players are. If you're offered certain, okay.
yeah,
I think the players.
there's two sides to this.
Yeah. I don't think they're driving it necessarily, but as the owners come in and they maximize their businesses, etc., the players and their representatives are not silly. You're not going to maximize this off our own backs, so we're going to get our fair share. Again, to draw a parallel with American sport, those guys wised up quickly, and before you know it, we're seeing what we see in the NBA and the NFL with the collective bargaining agreements and some of those contracts. But I don't see it. I don't see that happening, bro. I think unless the players' union gets a bit more teeth, and I think we get to a point where each individual player cannot play more than X amount of minutes in a season. That those kind of unionized type things. It's all well and good him saying that, but everyone, the problem if everyone can think at their individual level, thinking at the bigger level is hard. Yeah, my 300 grand a week, 350 grand a week is my 300 grand a week, 350 grand a week, and my bonuses and da 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 da. I think unfortunately we're gonna have to get to a really bad point, and then people will be like, okay, let's taper this thing.
But what's a really bad point? Like, I don't necessarily want it to be players breaking down due to exhaustion or whatever.
I don't want it to be.
Another Mark Vivian
But,
foul.
but when money's involved, Isaac, unfortunately, that seems to be the breaking point. Something bad has to happen. I don't know what you think, Keith, but the problem is we're sitting here as fans and we've enjoyed the game. We've enjoyed the games. So what are we doing?
You know what? Like, I think FIFA had to do this because, like I say, they saw all the money that UEFA generating through the UEFA Cup. The previous iteration of the World Club Cup was skewed a little bit in the favour of the South Americans and the European teams. Like, they only had to play 2 games and they could potentially win it, where the previous like Oceania and the Asia teams had to play like 3 or 4 games to get to the semi-final. So I understand why they kind of shook it up a little bit. It was just the magnitude of how they expanded it so quickly. I think that's what's caught people off guard. It's gone from like 8 teams to 32 teams. You're like, whoa, what's going on? But like you said, it's been a relatively good tournament. Other than the attendances, as Isaac said, it's been like I've enjoyed it. Other than the kind of individual player walkouts and was it superior player of the match rather than man of the match? Like they tried to
the Americanism,
Americanize it.
You know what? Listen, you know me, right? I don't like it, but I don't blame them for trying. Right?
Yeah, you understand it.
That's business. My thing I wanted to ask you too is ideologically, why are FIFA even allowed to run a competition with clubs? Even like
because the confederations feed into FIFA regardless, don't they?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so they still
FIFA
run
is the
football,
overall governing body.
and they realise that they can't wait every 4 years to get their big money. Even in the World Cup is very big money. They see UEFA getting the super money every season.
They want a piece of that.
And there's an argument to say, there's an argument to say.
He's very ego driven, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, saying enough. He wants.
Well, he's been put in by the European clubs to keep their to almost keep their position in the world, right? So European clubs want to. It's funny how much of this represents politics, but let's not stray to that. The European clubs want to maintain their position. I can see what FIFA are doing. I just don't like the way they're doing it, right? Because again, if I'm at FIFA, I have to think about the whole business. And actually, it's in my interest if South American football gets a lot stronger than the European game. The MLS finally does evolve. I think they played a long-term game here. If we fast forward 10, 15 years, and whilst I don't think it will ever be equal, it's just leveled out a bit more, right? Even if it's percentage of points more, and you almost get to a point where you don't need to leave MLS to be a certain level of footballer. If you're from Brazil and you play in MLS, you still get picked by the Brazil team, right? Mm. If I'm FIFA, I want to get to that point where the imbalance of quality is redistributed from UEFA. Because right now, that's the thing with UEFA. The European leagues are the strongest leagues by far, have the best players, have the most money. If I'm FIFA, I want to rebalance it. I just think they're not going about it the right way.
Yes. So my hot take is...
That's what I should have said, hot take. That's
America.
Right, yeah.
America is the focus. And it's kind of similar to what you're saying in terms of, I don't necessarily think it's a rebalancing or leveling out. I think there's a push to get the American game to an elite status.
Yeah, because it's untapped market. There's so much potential there.
And you see that with all... And so the reason why I say it's hot take is if you look at all the American investors branching outward, I think they're branching out to get a better grip in terms of resource on a wider scale to then take what they have and come back in.
Yeah, and in the short term, if you want to make money, you come to Europe and make that money. If you want to make money in 5 to 10 years, you come to the Premier League. Yeah,
I don't even know if they're going to take it back, because if you look at the MLS, they've still got the salary cap in it. So I know Messi's worked out a deal where he can get paid whatever, etc. But on the main, you can only pay them your players so much, and I think that's a little bit of the reason why
the cap's going to start doing this. Keep.
Yeah, it is
as it does in every other sport.
In a relative short space of time, the Saudi League has leapfrogged the MLS in terms of global profile. When that shouldn't have happened because the MLS has been at a reasonably good standard for about 10 years.
Yeah, but it's twofold, right? So
As
you
I
got
say, because of the money can go into Saudi, that's why it's been elevated over it,
That's
and
right.
I
Yes.
understand that.
yeah, in
But
the short term. But if you look at the long term, America has all the infrastructure. So there's almost two things: customers there to watch the game wherever it is, right? They've got all the Premier League games. You know, we were speaking to someone not too long ago that says no disrespect to Scotland, but they even stream Scottish Premier League games like live. People are watching it, so there's an untapped market. But then if you can, then you've seen how Americans are fanatics about sports, right?
Hmm.
If you can build a certain level of quality and product for soccer, as they call it, in America, it's not that crazy to have a product that would rival maybe some of the smaller European leagues in not that longer time, right? It's not. I don't think it's that far away for MLS to have enough quality to rival as a league, and people want to watch it. How long before it rivals La Liga? Honestly,
Listen, the only thing that's stopping them from blowing up, and when I say blow up, I mean overnight, is the American sport structure, and it's that
no
sport structure
relegation,
of
etc.
no relegation, college pipeline, drafting. The moment they go, do you know what? This doesn't work. It's not going to work if you want soccer, as they call it, to be a global um, for the America. If you want America to have a global level impact in the sport of soccer, the moment they say, do you know what, this isn't going to work, and they revert back to a more um,
Traditional,
traditional model,
yeah. Jeopardy,
that will
introduce Jeopardy
blow
essentially.
up
Yeah,
overnight. And the reason why I say it will blow up overnight is because, like you said, they have the infrastructure, they have the markets, they have the cities, they have everything you would want as a player.
mm.
They have it. They just don't have
Product, yeah.
the product or the infrastructure to allow big names. Because I promise you, there's a lot of big names that would say, "Yeah, America's gone." Think about it. There's a lot
I
of big
agree.
names that
No,
would
I
say,
agree. I agree.
oh, I can go over there and earn the kind of money and live the lifestyle that I want to live."
Hundred
Gone.
percent, and still get picked by your national team. Obviously, you've got old
I'm gone.
institutions, Champions League, etc. But if you're bored after a certain age, what that means to you will change, right? We've seen that. We've seen that with international ball. We've seen that with certain
FA Cup.
loyalty FA Cups. Different things mean different things to different generations. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Um, uh, you know, the number of games is a real thing that needs to be sorted out. The the selection of where and when they played clearly hasn't worked. But when you're doing an expanded World Cup and you got X amount of fixtures to fit in, some people are gonna have to play at midday. It's what's gonna have to
Yeah.
happen. So interesting experiment. If we take it back to the fixtures though, um, on the 4th of July we've got that Fluminense Al Hilal game. Just on the Al Hilal Man City result where Al Hilal beat Manchester City 4-3. I don't know if you saw the interview afterwards, and the guy said, yeah, everyone said we came here for the money. Well, we came for the money, and we're still beating your teams, which I thought was nice. It
Yeah.
was
You know
timely.
what I found out was funny? Someone tweeted, "Oil money doesn't know about oil money until a real oil baron enters the."
There's always
Yeah,
a
I saw that.
there's always a bigger man in the room, huh?
Yeah,
Always a bigger man in the
always.
room.
And before you move on, just the social media presence of the South American and the Saudi teams has been good. Like a lot of people have said, "Oh, why can't European teams be like this?" I would like, because they'll get criticised for it.
Exactly. They'll get criticized by Keith for it, saying it's a bit
No, I won't
cringe.
get criticised
Or
by me.
say,
Like,
Isaac, you remember that,
I
yeah?
don't mind it.
It's a bit this or it's a bit that. Mm.
No, I don't mind little social media like little jabs and whatnot. But yeah, it's refreshing to see like when
Yeah, it
Chelsea
is.
lost, they were getting ribbed, and yeah, same with Real Madrid the other day. Sorry,
No,
Man
it's
City.
true.
Sorry.
It's true. Yeah, no, it is true, and it's good to see. And that's how you connect with today. That's what people are consuming a lot of this stuff on social media. I do think the other side to this we haven't touched on. I'll touch on very quickly is how it's been broadcast. Right, so the Zone have been streaming online, and I don't know if either of you have done the stream online, but It's got the forums. People have on the stream talking in forums about the game. They are kind of running polls as the game's going on.
Yeah.
This is all the stuff you can't really do now. People are just stuck in front of their TVs. Those conversations are happening in WhatsApp or whatever, in groups on their phone. And I'm just looking at this thinking, the Premier League are watching this thinking, all right, this is where we're going. This is what we're going to be doing. You can imagine how they'll integrate the Fantasy Premier League into all of that stuff. They've updated their app now. It has AI in it. We'll come to that. That's a conversation for another episode. So the Premier League, we've talked about this, product and all of that. The Premier League are gearing up not to be left behind, right? And it's going to be very interesting to see what Sky do after the next deal. Anyway, sorry, I digress, but we'll come back to that point. Chelsea will be playing Palmeiras on the 5th of July in their quarterfinal, and then on the other side we've got PSG versus Bayern, Real Madrid versus Dortmund. Guys, what do we need to see in the semi-finals and finals? Because
I think Chelsea have got a clear run to the final.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I
As
slightly
long
want a
as they
non-European team to make the
don't.
final, man.
You don't want one.
I do want one. I want someone different. I want like an Al Hilal or someone or Fluminense or Palmeiras to make that final,
I
bro.
want a competitive final, and I think if Al Hilal, Fluminense, or Palmeiras get there, it might not be that competitive.
Oh, you're
I feel
doing
like
it again. Isaac, he's doing it. He's
Why
doing
would
it.
it not be
No, he's
competitive?
doing it. Hold on. I'm just gonna check your CV, see if you work at the Daily Mail. Hold on a second. Well,
Why would it not be competitive?
I want a
I don't
competitive
understand
final. Ha! I hope
No,
they
but
cook you in the comments for that.
I'm only saying that
I
based
want to
on
send that to my Brazilian friends.
it's more likely to be PSG Real Madrid in the final, innit? And we know that PSG can bop. Like the Champions League final wasn't competitive. You know what I mean? Like I don't want it to be like that.
He's
That's
throwing
all
it
I'm
back.
saying.
Throwing
I'm
it
throwing
back.
it back. You didn't let me get my point out. I don't want to see a whitewash in the final. That's all I'm saying.
Who's
Look,
going to whitewash who though?
I'm saying
Because
PSG
there's
could
not a
whitewash
single.
any of the teams on the other side of the draw, even Chelsea.
They're not. They're not going
I'm
to
just
do
saying I don't want the final to be a whitewash.
honestly, this is going to sound mad, right? On a quality basis, obviously, Chelsea could. But based on what I've seen so far, if PSG buck Palmeiras or Fluminense, the work rate those teams are dealing with, it's almost like they train in double this heat. I don't know what's going on over there. Yeah.
Yeah, used
So
to it.
the work rate is just nonsense. And then Al Hilal, I'm not gonna lie, they've surprised me. I mean, they
They're
can't make any
just
subs.
balling.
They can't make any subs. Yeah, that bench, yo. But that they
Balling.
Neves,
Controller.
Neves is looking like early Perlo with legs. Yeah, he's looking at early Perlo with heat map. Perlo's heat map was this big.
Controller.
What? That. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure it's a given that Chelsea get past
No, it's not
Palmeiras.
a given.
Right?
No,
They've
it's
just
not.
got a clearer. I think if they were on the other side, if you swap Chelsea with Dortmund, I don't think Chelsea go any further.
Yeah,
Fair. Yeah, fair. No, that's true. But I'm thinking it's a PSG final. PSG in the final. That's my thing. I think they beat Bayern.
Don't know.
I think they
I
beat
don't
Bayern,
know.
man.
I don't
I'm not
think.
saying
I
it's
don't think this
easy,
is.
but
Yeah, I don't. It's not easy.
I,
I think they'll deal with Real Madrid. Hands down.
current Real Madrid they will.
But
But I just think tactically, I think company's still figuring it out a little bit.
yeah.
Enrique, the little
I
tweaks,
think
the
the
little
matchups. I think the matchups in that game are very good. You've got Elise possibly against Mendes. You've got whoever's on the left wing against dealing with Hakimi.
yeah.
It could be Gnabry or Coleman. Then you've got Harry Kane occupying Marquinhos and Pacho, possibly Musiala behind him, possibly Thomas Müller or Goretzka, whoever. And then, the Joshua Kimmich
Yeah.
versus Kvaratskhelia or Conrad Lima out there. I think if it's Conrad Lima, he's having a bad day. That guy's a walking yellow card. Jonathan Tah, I'm still not. He's again another liability.
Gonna take a while for him to get up to
To
speed,
settle
isn't
in.
it?
Yeah. He was good in the undefeated season for Leverkusen, although again he was another walking yellow card. last season, I don't know what happened. It's like he fell off a cliff. So yeah, maybe it'd be interesting to see what happens in that instance.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think there are some very interesting matchups. I don't know if who's in midfield. Is it Palinha, Goretzka, and I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe the midfield is where they might suffer. The movement of PSG um, up against Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
Maybe that's where they might win the game.
no, I agree. And I guess quickly on Real. I've not seen any of Dortmund's games. I saw Guirassy a couple of goals yesterday. No one talks about him when they're talking about strikers, but he seems to be doing a job for Dortmund. Kylian Mbappe made his comeback from illness after what's his name? Garcia.
Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
Garcia scored a flipping bullet header from a I was gonna call it a classic Trent Alexander-Arnold cross, but it was a good cross from someone that's played on the wing. Like you should be able to do that cross. But I'm happy for Trent, right? He had a good game. I think he had a good game. I think he had a much better game. That's probably his best game in the Real Madrid shirt so far. I know it's only been 3 games, but Alonso was openly critical of him after his first game. His second game seemed a bit, so I was happy for him. But they just don't seem cohesive yet. I watched
You
that
can tell it's a
game.
new team playing together, in it. But like, there's
Yeah,
a few new integrations.
yeah. Look, Isaac
It
said
will
this
take time.
before. Yeah, well, yeah. So the reason why I'm bringing it up is Isaac said this before, and it's true. I think on top of it being a new team, a new manager and stuff, they're forcing people into positions, right? They should play Killian or Vinny on the left, but no one wants to make that decision because it's 2 stars. So not only is it play the way Alonso wants to play, he now has to find a solution for that for it to work. And you'll see some of the old stuff running in the same spaces. Vinny might be the greediest player I've ever seen, ever. Like he is
I
mental.
It's so jarring.
Oh,
I remember he had the pass on. I can't remember which game it was. He had a
It was
pass
the
on.
last
He
game. He
decided
had
to
the
go
it
for
was
break.
it
the
for
last
himself.
game,
Yeah.
bro. We're all watching
And
it.
then
Yeah,
he got lucky. Ball came back to him, and then he tried. He sized the defender up and thought, oh, okay, this isn't gonna work. And then passed them,
yeah.
but he'd already killed the move.
It's
It's just
just it's just so
bro.
I'm really interested to see. Like second half, he made some tweaks when they're not with the ball. Made sure they press from the front. Were more aggressive, defending from the front. That was the key difference I saw. Like that sort of high press, which caused some problems for Juve. But um, but yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how he solves that. And I think that Garcia's made a bit of noise. I think it's good to someone. Seems like there's someone there who can play a part. Let's see if he can do that. In November at Almeria. But
You know what I noticed with him? It kind of goes back to the point you made about the Mbappe and Vini situation running the same space. He's like a pure nine. He doesn't occupy the spaces to the left or right of him. He's just in the middle,
he's in the middle of the goal. There's a
and that's
post
it.
here. There's a post here, and I'm
He's
here.
there. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. The other shout I want to make, Arda Güler.
My guy,
Listen,
one other
His time.
one.
yeah, man. Like he was enjoying that game. He was in the middle of everything. Someone said to me before that Alonso said Güler is a key player for him, and I didn't
Yeah,
understand that because I'd never seen him. I never saw him in Turkey. Obviously, I don't watch Turkish football. And whenever I've seen him
It's
play
like you
for Real,
didn't trust him.
you never saw him. You never saw him for Turkey.
not no, I saw him play for
Yeah, he
Turkey,
played a bit
but
in the Euros,
yeah,
but
but I
when he
think
went
the
to Real
stuff that
Madrid,
really made him was when he was in the league.
yeah,
So I saw clips here and there, but I've never seen him play centrally. Basically, what I was going to say, Isaac. So whenever he played for Real, he was always shunting it off to when Ancelotti played him, would be shunted off to the left or to
Yeah,
the right. So
yeah.
watching him play in the middle, distributing the ball the way he was, some of the
Control.
passes, like I think it's going to be interesting to see him in Spain because those guys they're crazy physical. Um, but yeah, that's the first Alonso kind of tweak that we've seen and we think is staying.
Yeah.
Bang, right?
Straight out the gate,
Him and
he
Tchouameni.
said,
Yeah,
Arda Güler is my. I'm building my team around him.
yeah. No, he's
yeah,
he's
why not?
he's proper. What does this mean for Camavinga? Do him and Tchouameni just fight for the same spot?
What does this mean for Rodrigo? What does this mean for Camavinga? There's a few players in there that this is a
Well,
problem.
there's reports today that Alonso's happy to sell Rodrigo. Those reports came out in the last few hours. The Athletic reported it, which generally tells us there's some truth to the matter.
But he also when he came out and said that Goulet was his key man, he also implied that Rodrigo is going to be. He's happy to sell Rodrigo because he said, look, Mbappe's going up top, Vinny's going out left, Goulet's gonna or Bellingham are gonna operate off the right or centrally. That's it. So I don't have enough room for everyone, and I don't necessarily want a big squad. So
Can't fit
I think
everyone.
from then
You can't.
is when he said, pretty much said he's happy to let him go.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So
Interesting.
with regards to him and Camavinga, I think Camavinga, he doesn't necessarily want to be a utility man, right?
Berta, call his phone. Let him and Zubi fight it out. Jorginho's gone, Party's gone. Call Cama's phone, yeah? Let's get Davids Jr. over. Let's get him over. All right, look, that's a good segue into transfers. Obviously, Liverpool have got more important things to think about right now, but since we recorded, we need to talk about a club doing their business, doing it early. I think Liverpool's director of football is on a beach in the Maldives right now. He got his work in early, got Verts in.
Frimpong.
Got thanks Keith. Thanks.
Kirkes.
Got Frimpong and Kirkes in. So he sorted out his right back situation, sorted out his left back situation, sorted out his number 10. He's definitely in the all inclusive somewhere drinking at my time. 100%.
No, he's still working. Got Mark Gahey to come in, bro. He's working. Put your feet up when the job's done.
Yeah.
What did Kobe say? Job's not done.
Yeah, you lot are making me sick. I'm not gonna lie.
Not done.
Now, don't get me wrong. It doesn't matter, right? If when your preseason starts or your players are there, does it matter if you sign them in the middle of July or early June? It doesn't materially matter. But like any business, perception is key. Intent is key. And I don't know why you lot can sign, and there's different clubs, different people, but why can't you sign Verts from Leverkusen? I know, and you know what's funny? That transfer felt long, right? It was only like 2 weeks because you lot did Frimpong so quick, and then you did, why is it taking so long for my team in particular? But even other teams, Spurs haven't done anything. Like, why are you taking some of you lot so long to sign players? Get it done. Seriously, get it done.
I'll be honest with you. I think there is a material difference or impact in terms of signing early. I think if you sign early, it does more for the psychology and the mental aspect.
But
right?
even within the team,
you go on holiday, your player goes on holiday knowing, right, I know when I come off this holiday, I'm going here, I'm new team, I'm ready to go, blah 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 blah. Rather than the team's already into preseason, this player is now umming and ahhing whether am I going there? I don't know. I can't really enjoy my preseason. I can't really give it 100%. Then I end up coming to the team late. Now I've got to catch up to the team, to the rest of the squad, and catch up fitness. There's a definitely a material difference. Is to start getting signed straight away, or halfway or towards the end of the transfer window. What do you reckon, Keith?
Yeah, I'm an advocate of getting your work and deals done early. Like you say, you just kind of like imagine that everyone's going into first day of pre-season and you've got 95% of your squad there.
No, but I'm saying by the time you come back to preseason, those players are signed.
Yeah, that's the thing. But like, they're going to be there, innit? So I'm all for it. And like I say, it's rare that Liverpool move this quickly, this early. Like Liverpool normally get transfers wrapped up pretty quick. You normally hear it on like the Monday and it's done by like the Wednesday, Thursday kind of thing, which is what I quite like. But I think going back to your point about like teams like Arsenal, Tottenham, etc., not really making much waves. The market's tough at the minute, man. Like,
no, I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing it, bro.
Jay.
Wait.
I mean, players that are going to come in and improve your first team off the bat straight away. The market.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But we have clear targets, right? You know you need a striker. Every one of them, even if I call my mum now, she knows what strikers Arsenal are trying to sign. She knows. Everyone knows. So I'm not saying, oh, why aren't you finding certain players? I'm not even saying that. We know who you're trying to sign. Everyone knows. The man in the coffee shop knows. Sesko's gardener knows. Gyökeres' nanny knows. Just get it done. Get it done. That other bit about finding who and that's fine. That's scouting, cool, right?
Yeah.
But once you know the player, just do it. They did Kepa. Even that 5 million took how long? There's
But
rumors
maybe
that
they don't
our
know.
accounting year is July the 1st. That all this stuff, cool. Just get it done. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Eze,
but out
look
of
at
the
the Eze
two,
one.
who is it? Like Gyökeres or Sesko? Like
But that's my
you
point.
could have the conversations, innit?
No, but Keith, they will have a preferred one, right? They've got analysts to go there. In that room, you know that whiteboard we saw in the documentary, yeah? In that room, there's a number one and there's a name next to it, there's a number two. Go for the number one. If they're not doing it, just go for the number two. I know I'm overly simplifying big deals, yeah? But in that world, these are normal deals. This is what you're in the game for, yeah? Liverpool paying 100 and whatever million for Wirtz was a big deal, right? So just get it done. Just go and get it done. Zubimendi, apparently it's been happening. It's been happening since
January.
since 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 since,
I heard
since,
I
since.
heard they wanted to announce it today, but because of what happened.
Yeah,
So
I heard
yeah,
that as well.
fair. But so I think don't get me wrong. I'm being a fan, right? I take Isaac's point, and I think I agree. And the latest you should get people in, if you really want it to have full effect, is before your preseason starts. All of this on the plane to China, and then my man's flying in from his holiday. Forget all of that, right? But what worries me is just getting deals done because then this is how we now hear a story. Someone else buys this player. Someone else swoops in and buys that player. Like let's just get the deals done, settle everybody down, and move forward. But I don't have anything much to say, and I won't have any smoke for Arsenal or Spurs and any of these guys until preseason starts. If preseason starts and they're still out there trying to fill key positions, then I don't know what people are doing. Honestly, absolutely honestly. Even this
Do
Eze
you
one,
think
he's
that?
got a release clause. Just pay it.
Do you? But apparently they want. They're trying to haggle for less. Do you think that they're not 100% certain on who's their number one and who's their number two, and maybe that's what's slowing them down? Or do you reckon it's the fact that Bert has just walked in the door, or could it be something else?
I honestly think it's a commercial thing. I think it's numbers. Like from everything we hear from reliable sources, etc. Arsenal have a very specific, and everyone's got constraints they're working to, budget, whatever, whatever. So I just think they're going in and they're saying this is what we want it to look like commercially. The other team are saying, nah, this is what I want. If you listen to the rumors, Sesko's personal terms have been agreed for weeks, right? They've done that. That's fine. I think it's a commercial thing, bro. You just said about Eze. It's been widely reported his release clause is 68 million or 70 million or whatever it is, right? And they want to pay less than that. The guy's 27 years old. He's English, so we already know there's a tax, right? And, I'm not saying he's Declan Rice, but you paid £100 million for a guy who never played in the Champions League 2 years ago. If he's the level below Declan Rice, he's not going to be half the price, is he? He's in the prime of his career. You're taking him away. He's the talisman of that team. In today's market, that is about right. Mid 60s to 70s is kind of about right.
Yeah, and if you look at what Cunha went to Man United for, who's someone who hasn't produced for as long as Eze, you might say, it's
Agreed.
like you pay the money in it.
That's what I'm saying.
Pay
Like,
the
just
money.
pay the money. And if there's a willingness by Palace to send him lower, Isaac said it. Quite honestly, Palace, you, your mugs. You're like you got asset people want. Your Arsenal, pay the money. He's 27, he's an England international now. Pay the money. Pay the money. I can see other teams pay. So that's where it just gets. I think it's a commercial thing. But if I just step back and take an objective view, this is
Do
all
you
part
think
of the
Arsenal are
circus
relying?
Sky have created around the transfer window. Just get the players in before the preseason starts. That's my only ask.
Do you think Arsenal are relying on the fact that Eze has notified Palace that he's wants to leave, and they're therefore now trying counting on using that to discount the transfer fee?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think there's definitely an element of you're at Crystal Palace. I think that clause can only be triggered by a club in the Champions League. So we're in a position where, unless any of the other Champions League clubs come knocking, Manchester City have made their buys. They've bought Cherky, etc. Liverpool bought Wirtz, so they're not coming to buy Eze. So actually, if you want to fulfill your potential and get to the Champions League, it's us or Chelsea right now. Who else is in the Champions League? That's it. Oh, Newcastle. Right? It's us, Chelsea, and Newcastle. Newcastle. I was gonna say Chelsea don't need him, but that hasn't stopped them, right? So it's us or Newcastle, and Newcastle don't. I don't think Newcastle have got the room or bandwidth to be making that type of purchase. I don't think Newcastle are going to slap. But then but if they buy Gay, then they're definitely not doing it. They're definitely not doing it. Yeah, there you go. And then Langa, they offered 40 million for him. So they're not in the market to be paying 70 million for Eze. So there's probably a little element of, look, you want to play Champions League ball. We're the only ones here knocking on the door. No one else is coming. If you want this money, we'll give it to you. That's what it's looking like to me. So
yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens during this window. I think there's still a lot of movers and shakers to take place.
No, I agree.
August.
I fully agree, and I think if you look at the top, Man City I forgot to mention Man City. They did their business very quickly. Ryan Cherky is already doing stuff. Just
on that, have you seen what social medias are doing with Phil Foden and Ryan?
Yeah, it's out of order.
I love it. I love it. I saw one clip yesterday and someone said, all right, Foden, just pass him the ball. Every time the ball went to him, he's doing Diogo Benito.
It's so funny. Did you see you see Cherky's assist for his goal? Great finish from Foden, though. Great finish, great pass. That link up. All right, man, listen.
That might be.
When people were writing off Man City last season, telling me they're finished. What did I say? You can't write them off like that. You just can't.
No.
You can't write them off like that.
Never.
So, I think we've Man City have managed to get another natural North African baller in the in the team. So that's going to be super interesting. What else is there? Dominic Calvert-Lewin has left Everton at the end of his contract. I don't know where he lands.
Championship.
Really?
Nah,
I think a Prem club takes him. I bet you rocks up at Goodison Park. I mean, St James's Park.
Nah, West Ham.
St James's Park.
West Ham
on a free. Yeah.
Nah, he's not going Champions League level. Nah, I think West Ham, somewhere like that. West Ham.
If West Ham take him, they are mad. They are mad. They need to go and find their own Mateta. You need to go to France and pay 6p for somebody and let them come here and be a star. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is not solving your problems. They should not.
No, I don't think he'll go anywhere as a starter, but I think he'll go somewhere as a squad player to come off the bench.
Yeah, now Isaac said it. I think that's why he ends up in the Championship, because in the Championship he starts every week. I don't think his body can handle 46 games.
I don't think his body.
Maybe he goes abroad.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe he goes abroad, warmer climate and all that.
Yeah, good shout.
Antoine Semenyo staying at Bournemouth, but I think that's an asset. I think that's going to be like a Cunha deal. That's asset protection. If he has another good season, he's gone next summer.
Yeah.
How old is he? 26?
26, I think. Yeah. 26, something like that.
Burnley wrapped up Edwards on a permanent.
Yeah, which you guys all predicted. And fair play, his move worked out, right?
Yeah, 10 mil. It's not bad as well, you know what I mean?
Well, from his point of view, we were questioning, why are you leaving Sporting to go Championship, blah, blah, blah. He's in the Prem now.
This was the only way he was getting into the Prem.
Yeah. He's in the Prem now.
And I think he should have been in the Prem for a couple seasons.
I agree. And he basically has to, if he has a proper season this year and plays to the potential he can, he's the player you may be buying instead of buying Eze.
Yeah.
So if you can't afford Eze, right? Because nobody's getting Eze. If Eze has another season like this last season, it just goes up. It's 70 million, 75 million next year, right? Standard. If you can't afford Eze and Edwards does 70% of what he did in the Champions League and in Portugal, you take him off Burnley for 40 million quid. Boom.
Yeah, not a bad shout, to be fair.
That's what you do next. That's what West Ham like. That's if West Ham aren't punching with Burnley next season to survive. But if you're pushing on, if you're Bournemouth, if you're one of these guys and you lose Cliver or you lose Semenyo, if Edwards performs how we know he can, that's what you take up next summer. That's what you pick up, So you pick up. All right, cool. A couple of very quick points. Spurs seem to have finally picked up a manager of Premier League pedigree who is not on the twilight of their career and isn't their 15th choice. Thomas Frank to Spurs. And we know he's not Adrian's favourite manager, and he doesn't. He thinks he's a bit overhyped. But for the job he's done at Brentford, I think he deserves a look at a club of this size, and to kind of do that job. Hopefully, Daniel Levy backs him and sticks with him. But it's going to be interesting seeing him with those players.
With Frank, I think he has to be given a realistic first season expectation, and for me, that would be maybe try and get to the Champions League playoff, so getting in that top 24 as a minimum, and league, just try and get back in the top 10. I think that's got to be there.
Yeah, 100%.
I
Top
think
10.
I think if they aim for anything, and then maybe like a League Cup or something, maybe like a League Cup. But with Champions League, it would be hard because obviously their squad's not the biggest. But I think get back in the top 10 for Premier League, and then maybe look at the top 24 of the league phase.
And set the bar so low. He set the bar so low. What did he finish? Yeah, wait, what did he finish? 17th?
Yeah, 17th.
But he won European competition.
My friend,
got them in the
didn't he lose 19 Premier League games?
Okay, but that's still if Tottenham finish 11th, that's a happy season for them.
I think.
I think so.
Right, no. I think he keeps his job. I don't think he's happy. I think he keeps his job, and it's the how. It's the how, right, Isaac? It's the how. Do you know what I mean?
Bar Leicester, how often do you see a team go from that low in the league to a decent league position the next year? I know they're Tottenham, and yes, they won.
There you go. It's not like they're.
But you got to remember with the squad that they had, they couldn't juggle Europa League and league. And I know it's like a new regime, etc. Champions League is a lot tougher than the Europa League, my boy.
Yeah, but they're not going to the Baltics, deep Baltics for
exactly.
Yeah, I think top 10. I think if he finishes 10th or 9th, I think if he finishes 9th, 10th, the team's playing a certain way. They're not getting battered. They're not an embarrassment as they have been many times this season, and they don't get Sorry?
You want to see the signs of progression in it.
Yeah, and they don't get absolutely humiliated in the Champions League, then fine. That club has to see it as we're going to be in the Champions League for one season because they're not qualifying again. Take that money, do that, and then build, and then 20, what are we? This is 25, 26 season. Maybe you then say, right, 27, 28, you need to be punching with the guys fighting for top 5. That has to be the timeline for Frank. For Thomas Frank. That has to be the top man. So I'll say all the best. I don't wish him all the best. I hope it's another poor showing for him, I suppose. And then lastly, I think big shout out to the Euro under 21s team.
Sorry, going to go back to Keith Andrews.
If you want.
No, but it's a new manager in the league, isn't it?
I'm joking.
This guy. I think it's a brave choice. Like, I know And was promoted in-house, so he went from under Dean Smith to become first-team manager. Thomas Frank. Sorry. Thomas Frank went from under Dean Smith to first-team manager. That worked out eventually. Yeah. With Keith Andrews, he wasn't like a first-team coach.
He was a set-piece coach.
Yeah, because basically Frank's taken all the coaches to Spurs with him. So I can understand why they might have done this, but I think it's a step up too soon.
I think it's risky. I think it's hella risky. But maybe, he kind of brought up in that DNA. He was doing certain things. I don't know. I think it's hella risky. I think for such a data-driven club, they must have data-wrong managers and coaches. So I think it's hella risky. But all the best to him. New youngish manager. At the very least, he'll learn. And once you make that step into management, now he doesn't go down from that, right? He goes and gets another management job, whether it's championship or whatever else. So yeah, hopefully it's a Brentford DNA thing and he does well.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
and I guess it's what the media have been like. I know he's not British per se because he's Irish, but they've always said like we want these kind of young British managers to be given a chance, etc. And it's happened now. So in that respect, I hope he does well. But I think it's going to be a massive learning curve for him. And if they're scrapping for relegation next season, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, and Bournemouth might leave as well. Might leave. Norgard's gone to Arsenal.
Yeah,
Depends how they recruit, I guess. Depends how they
everyone's
recruit.
sniffing around Wissa.
And
Well, they signed Kelleher, so they've got the goalkeeper thing sorted out.
yeah, and they recruit well, right? A lot of the players we had no idea about, and they've come in and done okay. I think it's a big ask for Keith Andrews, but all the best to him. All the best to him. Yeah, finally, Euro under 21s. I believe they're the first back-to-back winners since the early 80s or something like that. Lee Carsley, youth football is your thing. Maybe he could have done the England job if he just didn't have to talk to the media. Yeah.
I'll be real with you. I think the first team, the main men's team, I think he's the suitable candidate. I just think we've got to get rid of the dead wood, the old guard, in terms of the players, and just let him bring through some of the younger squad, and let him just build the team in the image he wants to see fit.
And I think that's the plan, Isaac. I think when you look at all the pieces, like you just said, 2-year contract for Tuchel, but at that point, certain old school players shouldn't be around, right? We shouldn't see Harry Kane after 26. Let's be honest, right? He'll be whatever age then. So then that's prime for Lee Carsley to come in, take the players who will be elder statesmen then, but Saka will be 25 next year or whatever it is. He'll be one of the older ones. And then blend it with the under 21s guys, Rory Delap probably has, if he has a decent season at Chelsea, he's knocking on the door, etc., etc. So I think that's the plan.
Yeah, and like when Tuchel took over, I listened to an interview and he was asked whether he has oversight of the whole structure at St George's Park or just the first team, and he was like, "I'm just here to win the World Cup." So he's not even. So obviously he will have conversations with Carsley.
Yeah. And he went to watch the final, right?
Yeah,
He dashed to watch the final.
Southgate had like oversight of kind of everything.
Yeah, Club England.
Yeah, Tuchel's like, "No, I'm just here to do my job." So
I'm here for the ring, baby. I'm just here for the chip. That's it.
Yeah, like I've been an advocate of Carsley's under 21 style for a while since they won the last.
They play some serious football, man.
They play good football. He's adaptive. He gives new players a chance. Like even players who don't necessarily start for, like, so Tyler Morton would give him quite a good responsibility. Rarely played for Liverpool this season, but he had him previously when he was at Hull. Saw what he could do, done really well. So he kind of used his kind of past knowledge of players. Even like Stansfield, who was like the Birmingham record signing in kind of League One, didn't really set the world alight, but he gave him a chance. Didn't work. Brought in Rowe, etc. Yeah, man. I think the tournament was really good. They played some good football, and yeah, I'm pleased for them, man.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I just hope someone needs to start translating this into pipeline for the men's team, right? And I think maybe France did it, maybe Portugal did it with that kind of Rui Costa generation where they were really good as a youth team, brought them all the way through, and they won something. There needs to be more continuity. And I think when you think about the players in the England team, what they've achieved in recent tournaments, if they don't leverage this pipeline, and a lot of those under 21 players are either knocking on the door in the Prem or playing in the Prem, right? So you think about a Delap, Ranieri's knocking on the door at Arsenal. What's the name of the Hutchinson is play? Well, he was playing every week at Ipswich, but he's not in the Championship. So they need to utilize that pipeline. So yeah, fair play, well played to Lee Carsley, the young England players.
Pipeline's
taste
tough,
of winning.
Like I think the pipeline's tough. Like if you look back from the 2023 winners, I think it's Curtis Jones, Palmer. I think Madueke might have had a senior. Yeah, Madueke's had a few games. Gibbs White, Harwood Bellis. I think that's about it. The rest have kind of and Trafford, the goalkeeper.
The only thing I would say is if you look at the clubs that those guys were playing for at that time, makes sense, right? How many Forest players get the shine they should at England level?
Yeah,
But if you look at some of those teams now, they're playing for Champions League teams, right? So I think that's where you try and see the shift. And you remember at one point he was complaining, was it Southgate or someone else complaining? Not enough English players are playing in the Premier week in, week out. I think that's totally
yeah,
changed now. So
yeah,
I
definitely.
take your point, but if we look at that under 21 team that just won, we should be looking and saying, okay, there's a few of them that are either knocking on the door or will be playing Prem minutes for teams that are expected to challenge or be in European competitions. So those are the players that should be in your national team, right? I think it'll take a couple of years, but I wouldn't be surprised if what Isaac said comes true. 2026, Tuchel says adios. Lee Carsley coming in, and then it's continuity all the way through. So yeah. All right, all right. That's it from us for episode 109. Sad day in football. And we'll be back very shortly to just update on anything where we can. Continue to pay our respects, as I think inevitably we will be for the next few weeks. Update you on whether the Club World Cup final is competitive and to keep standards. And hopefully Arsenal sign somebody that is going to score some goals for the club. Yeah. All right, boys. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.